And thank you once again for tuning in to another edition of Real Talk on this lovely, lovely Friday night. And it's really not Friday night. We're just acting like it's Friday. Like it's Friday when the audience is listening, but it's not Friday right now as we're recording this. Correct, Jeremiah?
It's always Friday, man.
It could always be Friday, a forever Friday. So thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. I'm Adam, joined by Jeremiah tonight. And we're going to be diving into the 1995 Kevin Smith movie, Mallrats. But before we get into the show, please go to all of the social media pages. That is the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, The Other People's Show. And I check the stats about every few days, and they're going up, so that's great. And thank you all very, very much. So how's it been going, Jeremiah?
It's been going, man.
It's been a couple shows since you've been in.
Yeah,
And,
it's good to be back.
Glad to have you back in. And get that mic a little bit closer. And glad to have you back in. I guess what was the last movie you were in with Twisters?
Yeah, that was the last one we did.
Okay,
Sure was.
okay. So I'm glad you're back. And
Yeah,
you
me
said you
too.
had seen Mallrats before.
As a kid, yeah, I didn't even realize I'd seen it before, to be honest with you. Went and watched it last night, I believe, and I got about 30 minutes into it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this movie.
Yeah. Now, see, I never had seen it before. This was my first time that I'd seen it. I'd heard about it for since 1995.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you have those movies that sometimes they just slip through.
Oh yeah.
And this was one of those movies. And I met Kevin Smith about a month ago, and this was brought up during like a little question and answer. And they're working on a Mallrats 2, Twilight
Really?
of the Mallrats. Even though,
Oh man.
Renee, the Shannon Doherty, she passed away a few months ago.
Yeah.
But he's come up with a way to kind of honor her memory, but
That's
continue. So that might be in the very near future.
Yeah, she was an important part in this one.
Yeah, and he said she was the main reason that the movie actually got made. Without her
Oh.
name attached, they wouldn't have been able to get the budget to make the movie. So she was
Wow.
the reason it got made. But yes, this movie is about two guys that have been dumped by their girlfriends, and they seek refuge in a local mall, basically.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie, except the very beginning of the movie, takes place inside this mall. And it's by director Kevin Smith, and we all know Kevin Smith. Clerks, Clerks 2, Clerks 3, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, Jersey Girl, Yoga Hosers, Tusk, Red State, all these Kevin Smith movies. He was also the writer on like the newest editions of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, no, he's always been a big comic book fan, man. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I even got into him. He's got a podcast on Facebook, and I guess it's on TikTok and Twitter and everything else too. But he's a huge comic book fan, man. That was really cool to me that he got Stan Lee to show up in this movie. I don't know if it was him, but I'm sure he had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, he and that was weird because Stan Lee has been in like every Marvel movie, and I think this was one of his very first cameos in a movie, Mallrats. But he's a young Stan. Well, he's still older,
Yeah.
but he's young compared to what what I'm used
Yeah.
to seeing him. Like his hair wasn't all white.
Yeah.
It was partly like gray,
Salt and
dark.
pepper,
Yeah, salt and
yeah.
pepper. So he had some pretty good dialogue.
He
had
did.
like a nice little
did.
scene.
Yeah, he was talking about how I remember this one issue of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was when dude was like, oh, "You're Stan Lee."
Yeah. So that was really cool. And this has a great cast. The cast is Shannon Doherty as Renee, Jeremy London as T.S., Jason Lee as Brody, Claire Forlani as Brandy, Ben Affleck as Shannon, Joey Lauren Adams as Gwen. Then you've got Jason Mewes as Jay, Kevin Smith as Silent Bob, Stan Lee as himself, and Michael Rooker as Brandy's father. the one that's running the game show.
Oh
I
yeah,
forget his name in the movie,
yeah. I can't remember right.
but
off
he's in a
either.
lot of things too. If you've seen his face, he's been in Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh okay.
All three of those. He's been in a Van Damme movie called Replica. So he's been in a lot of movies throughout the years as well. So that was kind of weird for me seeing him in this kind of role because he usually does more
More
serious.
serious. Yeah. Yeah. If he was in a.
I mean, not that Guardians of the Galaxy is serious, but that's more of an action,
Yeah.
adventure kind of movie. And then this is a straight up comedy and a slapstick comedy, which I didn't expect.
Oh yeah.
I didn't expect that at all. So a few facts is the studio almost replaced Jason Mewes, who plays Jay, with Seth Green. Now, Kevin Smith insisted that Jason Mewes should play Jay because that's who the character is based upon. But the studio made Kevin Smith made him audition for the role. Brecklin Meyer, who also was in Road Trip, if you've seen Road Trip, he's the guy who accidentally sends the tape
Yeah.
to his girlfriend. That's Brecklin Meyer. He also auditioned for the part. But both of them, I'd heard them say that even if they had gotten the part, they wouldn't have taken the part because they know that it was written for Jason Mewes. And they were like, we don't want to take a part from somebody that's who it was written for. So that was kind of cool that they wouldn't have done it and that, Jason Mewes actually auditioned and he won the role of himself.
Well, yeah, I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Who could portray themselves better?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine who would be Jay? I don't know who would be. I mean, both Seth Green and Breckin Meyer, they're fine actors, but I don't think they could play Jay.
No.
Not at all.
The only person maybe that I could even consider would be what's that guy's name that plays Shaggy?
Matthew Lillard,
Matthew Lillard.
Possibly. Because he's a good actor.
He is.
He did great as Shaggy, especially that
Yeah.
voice and the walk and the look of him. Everything that was a good call.
Man.
We've got while shopping, Renee, who's played by Shannon Doherty, is seen wearing at least 3 different outfits. She had in her contract that stated that she could keep everything her character wore. So she came up with a plan that her character would wear everything that she bought, which I think would be ingenious.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you do that? Like if you're doing a movie, and this is a low-budgeted movie, be like, okay, I'm not going to get paid a lot, but if we're going to be changing clothes, I want the wardrobe.
Yeah.
And then I could be like, okay, I want my character, we're in a mall, so that she's changing clothes throughout the picture. So I would also be like, yeah, everything, because you could choose clothes that you would want yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And I would do that.
Yeah, I would too. Who wouldn't want a bunch of free clothes?
Yeah,
Man? Especially some high dollar stuff like that.
I would be like, all right, my character changes clothes, 5 or 6 times. That's 5 or 6 outfits. That's outfit that I don't have now. Sure. And around the 1 hour and 3 minute mark, Stan Lee was not going to have a cameo in the movie. Kevin Smith had written a fictional Stan Lee type character, but through a connection, Stan Lee was asked to be in the movie, and he agreed. Because you have to think at this time, comic book movies and comic book things like that weren't as popular as they are now.
Yeah.
Back in 1995, there was only a couple comic book movies out. Batman Returns, Batman Forever. Blade wasn't even out at the time. You had the cheap Spider-Man, and then you had the Hulk TV series from the 70s.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a really comic book culture like we live in today.
No, it wasn't.
And I don't even know if... I think this was Stan Lee's first cameo.
Really?
In a movie. I might be wrong if anybody wants to leave a comment to fact check me, but I do think this is his first.
Wow.
So this kind of started a trend afterwards because in, I think it is, it's the, I'm trying to think of the, not Wonder Woman, but the other, what was the other superhero lady that they had? Like another female. It was a couple years ago. Stan Lee is in that movie as a cameo, but he's holding up the comic book, The Mallrats.
Oh, okay.
And I can't think of it's one, I can't think of the, what it's called. I'll look it up here. But it was a really popular Marvel movie. It was called Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Captain Marvel's a guy in the comic book, but I think it's a lady in the movie.
Yep.
And Stan Lee makes a cameo in Captain Marvel on, I think, sitting on a bus reading Mallrats, the comic book.
Oh man.
So it's kind of come full circle because he was first in Mallrats as a cameo.
Now he's reading a comic.
Yeah, comic
That's
with
cool.
Mallrats. Which the poster, which we'll get into, I won't give this away, but the poster has a connection to a comic book as well. Brody's shirt is the faces of all the actors that auditioned for the role of Brody morphed together.
That's wild.
Now, I meant to go back and look at that after I read that fact, but I forgot. And I did notice this. Around the 55-minute mark in the movie, T.S. picks up a clerk's hat, puts it on at the flea market, takes it off,
yeah.
looks at it, makes a weird face like, ugh, and then puts it down.
Yep.
Did you notice that?
Yep.
I did too.
That's wild, man. I don't know. What was the purpose in that? Was it just
I think
an Easter egg? I guess.
I think
of
so.
Sorts?
I think so because I think bro. Why do they go to that flea market? They go to that secondary mall for the second mall they go to for some reason, and it's in that mall. I think he's just walking around trying to just maybe if it was a record store, he maybe be looking through records, and Kevin Smith was like, "Oh, let's put a clerk's hat there." As an Easter egg. That's what I'm guessing.
I believe so.
I'm glad that you noticed it because I noticed it as well. This it had a budget of $5 million, which is about $4.8 million more than Clerks. Clerks cost $27,000. And Kevin Smith financed Clerks on his credit cards.
Oh my God.
He'd seen a movie called Slacker by director Richard Linklater. And Kevin Smith was like, I saw that movie when I was 21. I was like, I never had any passion to do anything, but I thought I can make a movie. So I went to film school. He enrolled in film school for 8 months. He dropped out after 4 months, got the remaining tuition, which was $3,000 or $4,000, then put the rest on credit cards. And then within 2 years, Clerks was made and was in Sundance from 2 years from when he watched Slacker. Dude. So, so this movie was his second movie, but he, pretty much, more than doubled would have been $47,000.
Yeah.
So he got a $5 million budget when pretty much before it would have been like you're making a movie how we would make it. Which we would make it. We would make it with less than that. We could make it for $1,000. However, this movie was a financial failure. It only made $2.1 million. It put Kevin Smith in a depression because he said he didn't know. He was like, "Do I owe Universal Studios $3 million because we lost that?" He said he didn't know. He was like, "I don't know how the movies work." He was like, "Will they ever?" let me make another movie again. And because he said at first I was the golden boy. I came out of nowhere. Yeah. A great Cinderella story. He even worked when Clerks was still being negotiated. He still worked at the what's it called? The convenience store that Clerks was filmed in. He still worked there for about 6 months after it started winning prizes. So he was relatively new making this film, and so it wasn't a good time for him. He said the critics didn't like it. As we talked beforehand, 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a little bit better than half, but that's almost 50-50. And then, but 82% of the audience score liked it. So most of the audience liked it, and IMDb had a 7.0. So it's a high score on there.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
So and over time, it's developed a cult following and has made way more than $5 million back.
Yeah, by now it has. It's had to. If it's you can't find that movie for free nowhere. I can tell you that.
No.
You gotta pay for it, or you either gotta buy it or rent it, or
Yeah, which
something.
I did look for a Kevin Smith, like a DVD set that had like a lot of DVDs, and I found some on Amazon, but they were kind of pricey. Well, not super pricey because they had a lot of movies in them, but more than I really wanted to spend.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll just rent it.
I don't blame you there, dude.
So let's get into the movie a little bit. Jeremiah, what do you think about the plot? The plot's pretty simple.
Yeah.
The guys, they've both been dumped at the beginning of the movie. And there's going to be spoilers. This movie is 30 years old, but 29 years old. So if you've not seen it by now, we're giving spoilers. But that's not going to take away any of the fun. And they're basically just walking around in the mall, and they run into these little... They're basically just two guys the day after they get broke up with, walking around in the mall, and they get into shenanigans in the mall. And some of the shenanigans are talking about their girlfriends. They meet this one of their friends is consistently trying to look at this picture that you can see things in.
Oh yeah.
You know what are those even called?
I don't know.
But it's those pictures. It looks like nothing unless you stare at it, and then it could look like a sailboat.
Yeah, that's what they kept saying. It looked like everybody that came by.
Except him.
Yeah.
Even the little kids.
Man, shut up.
So that was kind of a thing, and then there's kind of a side plot, or maybe even the main plot, is that one of the girls breaks up with T.S.
Yeah.
because he'd made fun of a girl's weight.
Mm-hmm.
She had started getting real self-conscious about it, ran 700 laps around the track, and then collapsed and died.
Yep.
So therefore, nobody was able to go on her dad's game show, and she's going to have to fill in instead of going to Florida with T.S.
Right.
Where he was going to propose.
Yep.
That's the basic premise of their story.
Basically, that's the whole plot, really.
And then Brody, pretty much, Renee broke up with Brody because he's a slacker. He has no ambition. He doesn't want to do anything with his life, and he pretty much doesn't. He sneaks her into his bedroom. His mom's never met her, and he just plays Sega Genesis.
Yep.
I love that it was Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Sega Genesis?
Oh man.
Okay.
So I played too much of it. I collected the games for a long time.
Those were some fun games. I was looking up after that the number one selling game on Sega Genesis was Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, I guarantee
And
it.
then the second one was the second Sonic the Hedgehog, but then NBA Jam was the third.
Oh man, I don't doubt that.
Have you ever
I
played?
loved NBA Jam. That was my favorite basketball game. 2-on-2 basketball.
Yes, and then
That
you had
was great.
you could like make the ball catch on fire.
Oh
as
yeah,
you're-
once you made 3 shots in
Yeah.
a row.
yeah.
He's on fire.
So as they're walking around, they encounter a lot of characters,
Yeah.
and that's where you had mentioned the first encounter of Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
Oh well, not the first encounter because they were in the Clerks, but you get to hang out with them more.
Yeah.
And is that when you remembered that you'd seen this movie again?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. When I started watching it, I was like, it's so weird how many of these characters ended up being in Dogma, man. Gosh, who? Jay and Silent Bob. Was Ben Affleck in this one?
Yep. He plays. He's the guy, the Shannon Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
The guy that's he's like the
What's her name got with for
Yeah.
a minute?
Yeah.
The dude that TS was trying to get back.
yeah, because he was he ran like the clothing store.
Yeah.
And he thought he was the big deal, and he's a jerk in that movie too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, it's well, I'll get to this in just a moment. But what I liked about it was is that you meet all these characters, and then there's a lot of like slapstick humor, but some of the characters say really intelligent things.
Yeah.
like each character has something intelligent that they say. Like not each character, because Ben Affleck's character doesn't really say anything that intelligent, but the main character is Brody. He has several
Oh yeah,
scenes where he's just saying this philosophical things.
yeah. His
that
vocabulary is very expanded.
Yeah, and it's that kind of. I think that reflects back upon Kevin Smith because he's a good writer
Yep.
and can write good dialogue, but he writes this smart dialogue and then puts these characters in these silly situations.
Yeah.
Because you expect, for example, Jay and Silent Bob to be, kind of stoners and not very intelligent, but they've mapped out this whole way that they're going to get in there and take out the structure of the stage so it'll collapse.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you would
exactly.
expect that to come from,
Jay gets hung up at the top and
Yeah.
until the worst possible time.
And that's a couple of things that were funny too. Is that those slapstick moments, both in Silent Bob is in both of those because for one, they're trying to get past this security guard,
Right, yeah.
and he's he's kind of known throughout the malls. He's
Yeah.
a tough guy. And but he doesn't really seem tough at all. He just kind of walks around with a newspaper. He's got a hat on, but he doesn't really do anything.
No,
Not really. And the first instance is when they're trying to get him out of the way, and some little kid scoots like a roller skate or something across the floor, and Silent Bob slips on it,
Yep.
and then falls into his head goes head first into a dressing room. Which
happened twice with him in that movie.
to Gwen.
Yeah.
And Gwen is also in Kevin Smith's next movie after Mallrats called Chasing Amy.
Okay.
She's the main character, the main female character.
Isn't that chick the one that is in Big Daddy?
She's in Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's also in Biodome.
She's in Biodome?
Yeah. She's Pauly Shore's girlfriend in
Oh
Biodome.
yeah. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, you can't mistake that voice
That
anywhere,
voice.
dude.
Now that I always, when I was younger, I always thought she was a cute girl, but that voice,
It always got me too, man.
I was like, I don't know about that.
It's almost like what's her name from Chucky, Tiffany.
Yeah, Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like, daggone, you're cute, man, but why does your voice sound like that?
So high pitched, and just you can tell it immediately who it is.
Oh yeah.
What about the characters? Did you have a favorite character, or did you relate to any of the characters in this movie?
Man, anything that Jason Mewes is in, I relate to. He's like, I don't know, man. I've got compared to him a lot through my whole life. I don't know if it's the long hair. I've had long hair my whole life, pretty much. But
I don't think I can imagine you with that long hair.
yeah, dude, it's not a pretty sight.
Like I know that I think about it, like, but I don't think I would. I don't think. See, it'd be like me with long hair. I don't think I would look good.
Oh, you don't know until
Like
you
maybe,
try it,
maybe,
man.
like maybe I did have younger when my hair was too much, like almost shoulders.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe I don't know, 5 inches long, 4 inches longer.
You know what's crazy, man? So I started growing my hair out. My hair is about probably halfway down my back, if not further right now. But dude, the first I got my hair, like, I got one of them short fades, and it was still long on the top.
Yeah.
So some of my hair is longer right now. Like, some of my hair will go all the way down to here, and some of it's only, like, right here.
Okay.
But, so the first year, maybe 2 years that my hair was growing, it got down to, like, right here.
Really?
And I was like, man, what is wrong with my hair? It's just not growing. And out of nowhere, man, like, 5-6 months passed by, dude, and my hair's like already down to here. It just started. Yeah, now it's what it's doing now. I trim it every once in a while by myself, dude, but I'm kind of scared to like take the whole dead ends off of it because I don't want to mess it up, man.
I wish when COVID first started, like barbershops and stuff was closed down, I wish that I would have. I mean, you could still find some. Yeah. I still found some. But at one point, I was like, I went maybe 3 or 4 months without a haircut, and I thought I should keep doing this, but I didn't. I wish I would have, just for like 2 years just to see. But I always get to a point where it's like
annoying.
Like my hair, it gets to a point where it doesn't even look good.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't even know how to style it now.
You've got to go through that ugly stage, man. It sucks.
And then
That's the worst.
That's what I
part
always
about
give
it.
in.
Yep,
I always
me
give
too.
in.
Before I would let it grow out real long, dude. Yeah.
That's when you would give in.
Yep. When it got like past my shoulders, I was like, eh. And I'd cut it when I was in school. But
Right.
I ain't cut it in about 5 years now.
Not since I've known you.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been a while. So do you have I like the characters to this movie. My only, and I don't even know. This is not even a criticism. This is just an observation.
Right.
A lot of and it could be because a lot of these were early, like this was Jason Lee's first acting role.
Right.
But there's a lot of the characters that yell. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah.
They yell
Yeah.
like not just one character. A lot of them do. And I was wondering if that was like Kevin Smith's direction, or if that's how they interpreted their, dialogue. Even the guy that's looking at the poster, he yells several times at the kids. But he yells more, like, louder each time that he can't see the drawing. I think. So I think with him, it's supposed to be like comedic frustration.
It is.
But
I don't think Kevin would let something as good as a producer as he is. I don't think he'd let something like that slip. He'd be like, no, retake. I think that was.
So
done
you think
on
it's
purpose.
done exactly
Yeah.
the way? But did you
Yeah.
notice there was a lot of yelling?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
the characters kind of reminded me. Now, who did you relate to? All right, so you said Jay or Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
So what about out of the main two, TS or Brody? Did you think one was more likable than the other?
They're both kind of
Jerks, aren't they?
D-bags in a way, yeah, dude. Yeah.
Because I was watching that and I was like, I mean, they're funny, but I was like, Brody's I think Brody's a little more than a jerk just because he says more of what's on his mind than I think TS does.
Yep, he does. And it also seems like he was kind of trying to be the alpha male, like trying to control what, Brody was, or TS was doing.
Because he's like, you don't need to be thinking about her.
Yeah.
You don't need to be pining for her.
Yep.
And so I did think of that because I thought, now I like characters that aren't very likable. I like that in movies because usually you have like characters that are really likable with one flaw maybe. But these characters, especially Brody, I thought was mainly because you could see why Renee broke up with him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he farted in her face. He did that, during an inappropriate time. And then he talked to her, didn't talk to her real well. And then TS wants to take his girlfriend and propose to her during the Jaws. Was it like a Jaws ride or something?
Yeah, the little, was it a cruise?
Yeah,
or something?
some kind of little Universal.
Yeah, Universal, that's what it was.
Which was the studio that made this movie, so that's
Yeah.
why they chose there. So I was like, neither one of them are really that great of people, but we're going to go on this adventure with them.
Yeah.
But Brody seemed to be the slacker with a lot of intelligence.
Oh yeah,
You
I can say that. Yeah, he, like we were saying earlier, he had a very expanded vocabulary, man. He was very smart.
Well, and he knew, which I thought was cool. He knew Stan Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew who Stan Lee was. When I don't think TS did. TS know who Stan Lee was?
He knew that. I think at one point he was like, "Oh, Stan Lee's here," and then I don't think he ever even mentioned Stan Lee again after that. But then dude's sitting there looking in one of the windows at something, and Stan Lee comes up to him and starts talking to him, and he was like, I was writing one edition of Spider-Man, and you see, what's his name?
Brody.
Yeah, you see Brody's eyes get real wide, and he's like, wait a minute, you're Stan Lee? And he's like, oh, well, yes, I am.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I thought that was good, and I think that scene made Brody seem a little bit more likable.
Oh, yeah.
But did you? But there was never any doubt in my mind that Brody or TS was going to get their girlfriend back. Like you knew that.
No,
Like
I mean that's pretty much the whole point of the
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
because it did have a happy ending.
Yep.
And it did have some gags in it, like the gag with the the hand sniffing of the hand.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I forgot about that.
But there's a different version of that out there, and because it's mentioned in the movie and shown, but after he shakes the hand, the guy gets sick, but it's not mentioned again.
Yeah, I know.
But there's another version where it's mentioned.
Oh, okay. See, like I
And in
was
the movie
waiting for him
trailer,
to be
it's
like,
mentioned
why,
too.
Why does my hand stink or something like
In
that?
the movie trailer, it says that it doesn't say it, but it shows him sniffing his hand. But in the version we saw, it didn't have it in there.
No, I mean he got sick, but I thought that from what I could see, he got sick because he seen them two on stage instead of the other two that he had wanted on his show initially.
Well, I thought it was that, and due to maybe those pretzels, because didn't those pretzels touch the gross
I didn't
hand?
think about that. They did.
And he ate several of those
Yep.
pretzels, but the hand is never mentioned again.
No, it's not. That's weird, man.
But there's
It
a
never
big
did
setup
come back.
for it, though.
Yeah, there is. There's a huge setup. It never happened.
No.
I never even realized that, man.
And then also we were talking about how there's a similar scene in Ready to Rumble.
Right.
Which Ready to Rumble was, I think, like early 2000s, probably.
Yeah.
So this was, before that. But it's a very similar type scene. But in Ready to Rumble, he's doing it to get like a free icy or something like that. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, it was something like he was trying to get something for free. I can't remember. I guess it probably was an ice.
Something like that, wasn't it? Did you have a favorite or least favorite scene?
I mean, probably my favorite scene would be, when Stan Lee came in.
Okay.
But other than that, my favorite scene would be whenever Jay got stuck up in the rafters.
Right.
He was just hanging there trying to reach that. What was it? He was trying to reach a remote or something like that.
Was it that video cassette?
The cassette tape.
The VHS cassette.
So he could put it in the
because he's been trying the whole movie to do these Jedi mind tricks.
Yep.
And
oh yeah.
And then but Jay's like, he's just trying to, how Jay is.
Yeah.
Because Jay cusses like every other breath, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
that's Jay.
And so this whole time you see Silent Bob trying to unsuccessfully get the tape, and then somehow at the end, I forget
someone
exactly,
bumps into the thing, and
it makes it
bounce up, and he catches it, and
it
he's
bounces
like,
up to his hand, and he thinks, oh.
Is that the first time that Jay's ever talked in a movie?
Silent Bob?
Silent Bob. Is that the first time?
I'm trying, I'm wanting to think that he says one thing in every movie.
Oh, okay.
I think he says one thing in Clerks. He does in this one, obviously. He says something in Chasing Amy.
Oh, okay.
And Dogma, I've only seen once, but I think he has some dialogue in that one.
I know he's like directing most of these movies that he's in, but would that not be like the ideal role to have for an actor?
Yes.
Actress, either one, not have to say, but just one line the whole movie, just make facial expressions
or dance around.
Yeah,
and
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
man.
because you don't have to worry.
Yeah,
what's my line?
How am I going to mess up? Yeah,
remembering the lines is very stressful. I think it is.
I guarantee it. I've never tried to do nothing like that, but I wouldn't.
That's why, like on we'll say this at the very end, but you'll learn. Well, I'll just say now, Jeremiah's going to be in the production starting this weekend, and you'll have some dialogue, but it's going to be dialogue how you would say it.
Yeah.
Because my thought is, okay, here's the point, put it into your words.
Yeah.
So I don't want my actors and actresses to be worried about that, because it is a anxious thing trying to remember a bunch of dialogue. One of my favorite scenes. I like both the scenes when Silent Bob is crashing through the dressing room.
Oh yeah,
because he does it twice.
Yeah.
And there's a clip. You can find all kinds of Kevin Smith clips on YouTube, but there's one where he's talking about the scene that he originally wanted to put in there, and I'm not going to be able to talk about it on the radio, but it's a little more dirty. than
Yeah.
the scene that we got. But the scene that we got I thought was fun. I like the Stan Lee scenes pretty well. I also like the scenes where they're doing the game show.
Oh,
Like when
yeah.
they're actually on the
Yeah.
the dating show at the end. And I don't really have a least favorite scene, but I do think I've seen the daughter. Her name was Brandy.
Yeah.
TS is the girl.
Yeah.
TS wants. I didn't think her acting was that good in this movie because I've seen her in other movies and her acting was better. But I'll give her a pass because this is one of her first movies.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen her in some other movies better, but she seemed, rightfully so, probably nervous. I would have been nervous.
Okay.
My
Yeah,
acting in Culver Island, not very good, so I'm not saying anything. But still did a good job. She's still super cute, which is the reason she got the role. But I've seen her do some good work in other movies as well. What do we have here? The score and the music.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's got a lot of great '90s.
I would have to give it about a 9 at least, man.
Well, I was telling Lana about it earlier. She had mentioned that, and I said, yeah, the soundtrack did make it. I'm trying to play a song right now. Made it to number 7 on the Billboard Top
Wow.
10. But back in the '90s, if you remember, soundtracks used to be big.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah,
used
a
to
lot
have
longer, yeah.
some big songs because you have like Aerosmith from
Oh, yeah.
Armageddon, and then you had Gangster Paradise,
Yep.
the Coolio song, My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion.
Oh, man.
So there was all these big songs.
So many people have tried to failed trying to sing that song.
Yeah. And then The Crow had a great soundtrack.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And
Queen
then-
of the Damned. What was that? That was more like early 2000s, wasn't it? Queen of the Damned,
2002.
2002.
Yeah. So I mean, this album had Bush, it had Silverchair, it had
Oh,
Sublime, Weezer, Sponge, just a lot of different '90s bands.
Yeah, different genres too. That was the coolest part. You know,
And
you
it
had
opened
a little
up-
bit of grunge, a little bit of, I don't even know what you'd call this, not even new metal. It's just rock,
Yeah.
progressive, I guess.
And it opened up. The movie opened up with a very '90s.
Yes.
It opened up with a lot of like comic-looking characters, comic
Yep.
book of like females and males, but it was like drawn in comic book style.
Yep.
Like all the women had bigger, exaggerated assets that were
course,
drawn,
yeah.
and but it had that '90s soundtrack to it. And it reminded me, if you know the opening of Biodome,
Oh yeah.
the same kind of soundtrack at the very beginning of Biodome. This reminded me of that also.
That's another one we need to do, man. That would be a good one.
It's a good one.
That's a great movie.
What about originality?
Originality, I
Yeah.
don't know how you could score it less than a 10 because I don't know anything before then this was original in itself, man.
Just
It
setting them
set the
all
block
these
for-
characters,
Yeah.
and it's a quick I think it's like 96 minutes long.
Yep.
So an hour and 36 minutes.
How do you? I don't know many movies that, besides the beginning of the movie, like you was saying. I don't know many movies, man, that take place in basically the same place in the whole entire
Whole movie. There's not many.
Yeah.
There's not many.
It usually spans over a few days or a week or two or a month or two.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find any here. We've got a few. Not many. We've got The Breakfast Club that takes place mainly in a high school library.
Yeah.
Uh,
That is a good
Snowpiercer.
one.
Have you ever
Yeah.
watched Snowpiercer?
I don't think I've watched
It
that
takes
one.
place on mainly a futuristic train. This
Okay.
train is like miles long, but I think the whole movie takes place on a train.
Is that the one where they're caught in like sub-zero temperature or whatever?
Yeah, like the
And-
Arctic. And
yeah,
like
I
the lower
got you.
class is at the back of the train.
Yeah.
And the higher class is at the front. And then
Doesn't like a bridge end up collapsing or something while they're going
I
across
think
it?
so. I've only seen it once. About
Me
10.
too.
It's about maybe 2006, 15 maybe.
Yeah.
It's not real old.
Yeah.
Um, and then so there's some movies that take place in one place, but not a lot. Not a lot, and not a lot of comedies take place in one
No.
place. All the ones I'm looking at, Alien, that's one place.
Cabin Fever. That could be another one.
Yeah, Cabin Fever's a good. There was a
Yeah, I
point in
mean,
my
they
life
ran.
when I watched Cabin Fever. I watched it one time a week for at least a year. Cabin Fever.
Wow.
I loved Cabin Fever.
Yeah, it was a good one, man.
I mean, it
really
grosses
was.
me
They
out,
did
but I
great.
still love it.
Yeah, that when they found that chick in the garage, dude, and the
And
coyotes were eating on
Yes.
her, man, or whatever they were, the dogs.
Yes. Now we'll get to the poster because we always talk about the poster, but the poster to Mallrats is actually designed to be a comic book. So if you go and you look at the poster of Mallrats, it's like a drawing of a comic.
Okay.
It's even got the little logo of a comic at the top right with however much it cost.
Wow.
And Kevin Smith said that a lot of people might not have understood that was a poster because, it looked like a comic, and comics weren't a big thing in the 90s as they were now. So he said a lot of people didn't understand that because there's a lot of comic references in the movie. If you remember, at one point, Jay also does this like Wolverine slash,
Yeah.
but Brody explains to TS what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody probably did that, you probably wouldn't have to explain what they're doing. You'd
Yeah.
probably easily know.
They'd know, yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons that the movie failed financially at the time, because there was a lot of comic book references, a lot of Star Wars references, and those weren't as popular in the 90s
Yeah.
as
Didn't
they
click
were,
with the crowd.
Yeah. as they are now. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, most people like Star Wars or comic book movies now.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know anything that's bigger really besides horror. Horror is kind of making a comeback, but
Horror's something I don't see it ever going away.
I don't think so either, man.
'Cause-
You're always going to be able to make up some kind of a ghost story
To
and
be
make it scary.
get somebody
yeah.
scared. Exactly. Would you or would you not recommend this movie,
Oh
Jeremiah?
yeah, I absolutely would recommend it to anybody. Really, it don't matter what kind of movies you like. If you can handle a little bit of cussing and a tiny little bit of nudity, not much, but you'll like this movie. If you can't laugh at this one, I don't know how you could laugh at anything.
Right.
Honestly.
I thought it was a fun movie. It was different than I thought.
Yeah.
I never had seen it before, and it was I didn't know the game show aspect of it going in,
Right.
and I didn't know how silly it would be, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
Just by just some of the silliness, like even that second time when Silent Bob goes through the dressing room wall, he's got like a trench coat, but he makes it out into like this cape,
Cape, yeah.
this bat cape, and then he tries to swoop down, and when he swoops down, the breeze barely takes the hat off that guy, off the security
Yeah.
guard,
Yeah,
and
he
then he
missed
crashes
him.
into the wall
Yeah.
again. So the security guard never realized that they were even trying to take him out. He had no clue.
No, he didn't.
So I thought that was fun, and I think it's a good movie. It's not serious. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's got some smart dialogue. It was like the dialogue was smarter than the characters.
Oh, it was. It was way beyond their thinking. I
Vocabulary.
believe. Yeah.
But they pulled it
probably had
off.
to- they probably had to study that.
Yeah,
Probably
definitely.
had a what's some more things called where they show your lines on the screen. Oh shoot. Prompter.
Oh yeah.
Teleprompter.
Yeah, teleprompter. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
probably sitting there spelling it out and
Or even
everything.
you know what like when I kind of had to do something like that with when I shot a scene for Culver Island, because there was a lot of dialogue in this one scene, and I was like, I can't. And it was an arguing scene, so we had to say dialogue at the same time.
Oh man.
So I was like, I tried to learn it, and I thought I learned it. But whenever I had to start doing the scene,
Yeah.
to be honest, I got nervous because there was like 4 or 5 other people around.
Uh-huh.
We were arguing in the movie, And I was like, ah. I said, can we just put the iPad? So they got the iPad, put the iPad behind the character's head. So when they're shooting me, I'm just reading the dialogue of the iPad.
Oh, man.
And I did the best that I could. It wasn't my best acting.
How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 summers ago. And you know, that does happen. And some people have like a little earpiece that they have dialogue fed through, which I think would be, I don't know how that would be because you're trying to pay attention to your co-star.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to pay attention to what somebody's saying to you. So that would be difficult, I think.
And, you know, if you had to do that, you would have to be talking probably. If the sentence drug out a little bit, coming through your earpiece, you'd have to...
Like talk over. Yeah.
And still hear what you've got to say after that. Yeah,
Yeah.
That would be rough.
I think so, too. Well, Jeremiah, it's been a fun show.
It has.
Thank you for joining. And thank you, the audience, for joining as well. Be sure to check out all the social media pages. That's the Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, The Other People's Show. And not sure what we're going to be doing next week, but I do know in October we're going to be diving into The Evil Dead Part 1 and 2.
Oh, man.
I know Aaron Lee wants to come back for those if you want to join for that as well, Jeremiah.
Awesome. Yeah.
We did Army of Darkness last week. I should have scheduled all 3 of them in a row, but you know we've got the other ones to do, and then we're gonna dive into an odd movie with Aaron Lee called The Notebook.
Oh, man.
Because he's never seen it, so
he's in for a treat.
yeah, he said that his friends had made a vow never to see it. They had seen it. He was the only one that stuck to the vow, and I told him, I said, "You may cry, my friend. You might cry." So, have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I ain't going to sit here and try to say, you know, I wasn't sad.
But it was close. You were close.
Yeah.
So, it'll tug at the heart.
It definitely will, man.
So, Jeremiah, thanks for tuning in, or thanks for being here. And we'll see you all next week. Have a good night.
See ya.